Hi, I just wanted to say a few things about the recent answered prayer argument discussion that was happening last night in J.D. Kane's Hangout. And there was a question that was raised about whether it mattered that the object um, being compared to God was analogous to God or disanalogous to God. And I just wanted to say that, well, I wanted to clarify something, at least from my perspective, is that there's two different ways this argument is normally made. And the traditional way would be to say prayer causes action to happen, some action that wouldn't have happened if not for the prayer. For example, I pray for something and then it happens, something that otherwise would not have happened. That's the traditional argument for answered prayer. And the way you would test that is what has been done. Something I mentioned, something that I believe Christopher Hitchens used to mention was the Templeton Foundation study, where what they did is they created a control group. Right? So there was a group of people who prayed and a group of people who did not pray, and then the results were tested: the prayer group versus the non-prayer group. And so when they did that test, they found that roughly equivalent numbers of people got better. They were people that were prayed for in a hospital setting, and actually under certain conditions, there was some people that had shown that they'd actually gotten worse. The ones that had gotten prayed for statistically had done slightly worse. Um, so that's one way to make the answered prayer argument, and a way to address it, a way to question, is this a reasonable, valid? Is it an argument? Is it a good argument? Is it a, I shouldn't say valid, probably. I should say, is there evidence to support it? Then the other way this argument is being made, at least recently by G-Man, is that any answer that happens is a yes. So anything that happens counts as an answer. This is a different type of question. That one doesn't depend on anything. You're not testing for a percentage of yeses. You're just, any possible result counts as an answer. So the problem with, I shouldn't skip ahead. Well, maybe I'll go ahead. The problem with that one is that it's untestable. Is that the percentage in the first answer, you'd say, well, what percentage of yeses do I get without prayer, and what percentage of yeses or positive results do I get with prayer? It would be similar to something like if you're trying to test the efficacy of a drug, and you're a pharmaceutical company, you say, well, let's have a null group, let's have a placebo group, and we'll see how they do compared to the ones who get our drug. What kind of changes happen when we give the drug versus when we don't give the drug? That's how you test how well this substance works. And so that's how you test a percentage of, what percentage of prayer group sample people show signs that weren't present in the group that weren't prayed for. In other words, how do we test prayer against random chance? So that's the first. And then the second, like I said, with G-Man, is that it's not a testable hypothesis at all. So the question for me anyway is, why does it matter, or in which case would it matter, whether the item in question that you're either praying to, or whether you're using a lucky charm or something? In which case does it matter, the first sense of the answered prayer argument, or the second, the traditional answered prayer argument, or the one that G-Man's been using? Because I'm not sure if it matters in either case. In the first case, you're testing against a control group, which can be inaction. I mean, you don't have to pray to anything. You can pray to the wall, but you can also just be silent. You can do nothing, because the only purpose is to create a control group. And then in G-Man's example, it's not even a testable claim, because yeses and nos all count as it all counts. So any possible event counts as a yes. So this just leaves me wondering, what does it matter whether the item is analogous to a god or not? In fact, I think the can of soup analogy was created that way because it is intentionally disanalogous. It's the point is to show that no matter which item you use as a counterexample, it always works just the same, because once you count that everything counts as a yes, it doesn't matter what you do at all. You can do a yes, you can pray, you can not pray, you can pray to a God, you can pray to the wall, you can pray to a ceiling tile, or a can of soup, or a jug of milk. There was a very old video on YouTube. It's been on YouTube for pretty much the whole existence of YouTube. I'll link it in the description, about the jug of milk. Many of you have probably seen it. So this is not new. So I don't want to make this video much longer. I'm trying to figure out, why does it matter, or in which case would it matter whether the item being compared to a god or the thing being compared to a god needs to be analogous, or if the thing is disanalogous, why does that help or hurt the argument? In my view, the whole purpose of the jug of milk or the can of soup is to be disanalogous. It's to show that this works as well as your God. And what does that say about your God? If it works as well as your God, then what is your God doing exactly? When you pray to your God, what reason do you have for thinking that this is doing anything? So I think that's all I have to say for now. I'll probably tag a few people in this. Especially, I'd like to hear from Shanna was defending some things that I didn't expect her to defend last night, and Ozzy kind of stuck up for her in the comments. And so them especially, or excuse me, also from G-Man. I'd love to hear what any of them have to say. So thank you very much.